Hey everybody, it is John the Comic Guy, and today I'm going to do a video by request. So, Jay Saldana 1227 asked me, is there any chance that you can do a video on how you make your custom labels? So, the answer is yes. I have been getting some questions on that recently, and I'm going to show you exactly step by step how I do my custom labels next. So, before I actually start the steps on how to make a custom label, the question is, why do I make these labels? You know, I think I've had this OCD problem since I was a kid, is and that is when I was a kid and I saw a commercially made item, there were often times that I felt that I could do a better job. There were often times that I felt that the product itself could actually appear better. So, I mean, you have multiple sides of the argument. For example, I always thought a lot of record covers, music albums, the 33 RPM records, their covers really didn't do the music justice, right? Some people just come out with a record, beautiful music, and I think their covers are either ugly, put out with very little thought, and that's just my opinion, right? It could be right or wrong. It's just my opinion. People could argue, hey, it's not about the cover, it's about the music. And you're right, but I'm a visual guy. I'm going to sit there and look at the cover while I'm listening to the record. So, again, for me, these are all to please me. And by the way, I will also stress I do not sell these labels. One of the major reasons why I do not sell these labels, one, it takes time, right? It's kind of a pain in the ass. They're for me. But also, to make my labels look so cool, I'm utilizing images that I'm pulling off the internet, and they're not my property, right? So they're in theory owned by other people, copyright. So I mean, I do it for myself in my own house. No one's exchanging cash, right? I'm doing anything I want, and I'm making these in my house. I would also suggest if you start making these labels, you do the same thing. You don't plan to sell these. Do it for your own pleasure. So now, let's get the legalities that are out of the way. Today, the comic that I'm going to make a customized label with is my own comic book. The comic book that I published myself. I drew, colored, uh, did the word balloons and the dialogue and the writing, all that stuff. So the lettering. That's what I was thinking. And it's going to be with my comic Stiletto. The Stiletto is a lost in space story about a stripper and her dog. Now, why did I just tell you that? Because I'm so proud of this product. This, in my failed attempt at self-publishing, this was actually Stiletto was my most popular book. It's explicit material. What are you going to do? But I love it. And again, it was my own creation. But that, I think, makes it pretty safe for me to show you and demonstrate how I'm making a custom label, because all the parts of it, the images I'm using, are all mine. So again, just really a friendly reminder. Just make sure if you're going to start copying this, because I'm going to give you dimensions, I'm going to show you the materials I use. Don't plan to sell it, right? If you want to make them for your friends, that's fine, but don't be selling this. This is just for us, for our collecting pleasure. And by the way, I'm also going to dismiss a comment somebody might make and say, John, you're making your labels look so good. You're actually distracting from the beauty of the cover itself. My simple response is, then don't do it, please. Just don't do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. This is for my pleasure, and I'm making my collecting experience better. So let me start with the demonstration to show you how I make, step by step, a custom label. Okay, so let me just make sure this is angled correctly for you guys. So I start out with a palette with the dimensions of 8 inches width and 3.2 inches tall. And the reason it's 8 inches wide is because I'm using these Golden Age top loaders. The reason I like the Golden Age top loaders, and I get these on eBay, is because when you have these Golden Age top loaders, they actually are the closest to the size of a CGC dimension or a graded book. So in terms of width, they're not perfect, but they're really close. So again, I use these, and this is what I pick up on eBay, right? They're quite inexpensive. So Golden Age size, right? They have current size, they have the Silver Age. You can use those too. I use these because I like to match up the size of a CGC book or a graded book. So the dimensions, again, 8 by 3.2, and I make it 300 resolution. So again, this is on Photoshop. So now, as you could picture, I like to complement the color of the book, but so I could use a blue backdrop, and again, I render it, right? I don't just color it blue. I like it looking cool, I guess. So I kind of have that little rendered look where it's white down to the blue, but you could change it. You can make it purple, you can make it green, make it yellow, and I do that sometimes, red, and sometimes orange, right? It just, you could customize it. In this case, let's just say I'm going with the standard blue. The big reason I do blue is because it tends to look really good. I also add, again, this is something that I like to do. I like to add a line. You can make that as thick as you want, but I like to add a line there, and I'm going to show you why. But you could also change that color. If you want to make it, you can make it pink. You can make it purple. Make it green, yellow, right? Right now, you got to get your artistic mind going. Let's just go with the standard red this time. Okay, so now for me to customize it, this is purely for my pleasure. You could put pictures of your kids on here. You could put your own face on there. You could put anything you want, but I have that UCG symbol, right? I kind of refer to it now as the United Collectors Group, but at one time that was Ultimate Comics Group, right? You could see here, my failed attempt at publishing. So that was my logo. I created, or I had somebody create it for me, and I still use that just because I like it, right? But now I start adding the information in layers. So you could, what I ended up doing is I used my pictures from that I've owned. So these are my property. These are what I drew. That's the title for Stiletto, right? I'm just utilizing all the stuff that I had. So you could say I'm adding layers, and I like it on both sides. Could you change it? Could you put, again, a picture of your kid there? You could put anything you want there. I'm making it look as visually dynamic to me. So I think that's key. And then you start layering other information. Then I put the grade. And by the way, the grade here, I make it 80% opacity. So you may or may not be able to see it, but the opacity is 80%. The reason is this way, you could still see a little bit of the picture behind it. It's just the way I think it looks visually dynamic, right? You can do whatever you want. You could change the color. I tend to outline it. You could see a red outline. If this cover ended up having a different color, you can make it green, you can make it yellow, but outline it however it looks as appealing to you. Then I also add some more information. I'll add that the pages are white, right? You change whatever it happens to be. If it's like a signature series, you could add a little signature there. In this case, it's not. If it was a signature series, let's just say it was a comic book that Mark Silvestri did, you could add his name there. I put it underneath, right? I've done that for some of my books, especially when I have the date. If they signed it right in front of me, right? Then I have all that information.
This is for issue number 5. I also add a number symbol. I have the number and the number symbol separate because, right, if this was issue 10, it's going to need more space. And it's just, for me, I made the, pardon me, I made the number symbol a little bigger because the font I use would have made the font maybe a little too small, and then I could adjust it myself. Again, you could choose any way you want to handle that, but that's what I do. I put the publisher down. Again, now I start following the traditions of probably what most graded books do, but I do it for myself. That I know who the publisher, and in this case it's Ultimate Comics, which was me, and the date. And then you can start adding the layers of the artist, of course, the cover, art, and story by yours truly. And because this happens to be a key issue, I put a little key there. So now these are just layers of stuff that I think look appealing, right? You don't have to put the key there, but why not? It's my work of art. I'm going to do it. This happens to be a first appearance and a death of a character. And and by the way, I also add this sometimes. Let's just say it was a double cover, because I've done some of these custom labels where I had double covers. I could add it right there, right? That's where I put it on the line. It may not be perfectly lined up right now, but for the correct comic book, if it was a double cover, I would add that there. So this is just ways I could layer information that I find very relevant. Let me just see another layer that might be relevant for you guys that I'll make sure. Oh, if it was a newsstand edition, I put a layer that shows it's a newsstand edition. In this case, this was published by me. There's no newsstand. There are sometimes, like when I do a signature type of a book, I will also add information here, and I might also highlight it with color, all that stuff. You could add that. If you're aware of Photoshop, you know how to do that. But then I'll put the relevant information on when it was done, when it was signed, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes, if it's a double cover, I might put in there what the inside cover and outside cover would be graded at. You have your own prerogative, and I'm going to also show you and explain to you in a moment why that side is flipped upside down, right? Because obviously you're gonna see why. But let me see what else is information. So I think the biggest key here is you want to make sure you have the images that you enjoy on either side, and it could be whatever. It could be the Marvel logo, the DC logo. When I've done it for a friend as a favor, they wanted like a DC logo, so yeah, no problem, I could do that. And that is exactly the process of how I make the image on Photoshop. So in this particular case, I'm going to print it out, and then I'm going to show you. Let me just print this. I always obviously print it out with the best quality. And now, while it's printing, I'm going to show you the next step. So I use a Canon printer with like the Wells ink, because I might use a decent amount of ink. And now this line, not only I think does it look good, but I'm going to use this to be the folding point. So I'll fold this nicely. I'll make sure it's perfect. And then also I have and utilize cardboard. You could use any kind of cardboard, right? You're going to see why, especially in a moment after I fold this perfectly. I'm going to use an acid-free glue stick. So the acid-free glue sticks I use are typically like these Elmer's, right? I like acid-free. I have a feeling by the time these start yellowing, I'm going to be long dead, but I'll use acid-free because I'm OCD, and I'll know at least then there's not going to be yellowing. But now you're going to see this part of it, and then I'm going to use it after I make sure this is folded perfectly, right at that edge. Then I'm going to use a paper cutter, just because I'm OCD, and as I get older, if I'm using scissors, it's just not going to be perfect. I'm also going to cut it and leave about an extra inch on the bottom, and you're going to see why. So now here you could see I cut it and I left about an inch extra, right? So here's the cardboard that I'm going to affix it to. And I'll put that here just because I'm left-handed. So now I'm going to hit this with the glue gun. I'm sorry, the glue stick for now. And I put it on pretty liberally, right? Everything is, all these materials are cheap. I just get them all from Staples probably, or Amazon. So again, you're going to see exactly how I do it. So I lined up perfect, see? I make sure it fits nice. And then I complete it with the glue. Then I hit either side. Now I fold it under. Now, if you're going to ask how I first started doing this and designed it, it took a couple of iterations. So this is probably version 5 or 6.0. I've had many iterations of the label and how it looks. And because of my OCD, for the most part, I ended up just totally replacing it. Now, I think I have it down to the way I really like it. But so this is, okay. So now you see how it looks, right? Let me close up this glue stick. Don't need that anymore. So now I have this. This little card. Then I take lamination materials. I got, again, at Amazon, right? Lamination sheets. And then I'll make sure and I measure it. I have my top loader, my golden age top loader, and then this lamination material, after I run it through the laminator. So, right, if you just get lamination material, that's not enough. You have to heat it up and put it through the laminator. And then, there you go. See, it fits perfectly. So it really fits like a piece of paper in there. See that? It fits really nice. I don't actually use this whole sheet. I'll cut this down just because I don't need to use the whole sheet. So I cut it down to a piece like this, right? It's probably like 4 inches now, right? It fits nicely into this. So here, I have my glue gun. So now this size happens to be nice, just perfect. So now I have my glue gun, and I use the glue gun. Right, and if you guys are watching this and saying, holy crap, what a pain in the ass. Yeah, you're right, but this is not for everybody. So now, I'm making almost like a little sandwich, right? On either side, I just add the glue gun. Make sure I turn that off. Okay, so now I have it nicely affixed in there. Here's my top loader. I slide the comic in the top loader. It's in Mylar, by the way. So, right, the comic itself is in Mylar. It's clear. Plastic slides in perfectly. And there you go. Why do I use the plastic? Is because now you can see front and back. So again, this is just layers of my OCD that you're seeing. So everybody, there you have it. Let me kind of give you my conclusion on this now.
I wanted to just show you the final product and how it displays next to a graded book, next to a comic skin, right? They're all about the same. So this is me stacking them. So first, you could see the comic skin. And by the way, since I'm here, let me just thank our sponsor, comicskin.com. You can get comic skins, and if you put John, the Comic Guy 5 on the coupon code at checkout, you could get these comic skins for 5% off on the singles, the 5-packs, and the 10-packs. So feel free to pick one of these up, because then it's just as easy to create custom labels for those. But as you can see, by the way, Mark, thank you so much at a comic skin. Here is a comic skin. Here is a graded book. Okay, and you notice, and I've showed you this comparison before, they feel virtually the same. If they're off a slight bit, it's, for me, who's so OCD, it's negligible, right? So same width. And now if I take a comic skin, again, because that's how I keep a lot of my books, you have this top loader, which I'm going to ultimately, I put in these Mylar sheets that I also get from eBay, right? These are just CGC graded Mylar bags. So this is now about, I would say, approximately 1/8 of an inch difference. Close enough. Certainly if you had the Silver Age or the current size book, they're not going to be as close. So that's one of the reasons I personally chose the golden age size top loaders. And then you'll also notice the top of this label is basically the same height. That is why I chose the dimensions that I did, right? So you see the dimensions that I gave you earlier in the video, make sure aligns nicely with the height of a CGC graded book. So just know you have the flexibility to change the size to suit whatever you want, but I do it to size it up nicely with the CGC integrated book. So if you like this content, if you enjoy it, I would ask you to please make a comment. I'm so curious on what you think. Again, if you don't like the idea of doing labels, don't do it, please. But let me know if you are going to do them. At least you know the dimensions now. You know you can make this red line or the colored lines thicker. You don't have to use them all. You can make your own form of art. Just remember, again, if you are using your own drawings, hey, you could do whatever you want with them, sell them or anything. But if you're using images that you're pulling off the internet, those are, again, that's why I don't sell them, because they are for my personal use and enjoyment only. And who wants to get caught up in any lawsuits, right? I'm not into that. So, but with your own labels, with your own art, then you can do anything you want. And I thought this was a pretty creative way to store a lot of my books that I'm not bothering getting graded anymore. Comic skins aren't cheap, right? They're about $20 a pop, even with the discount. So again, this happens to be a very cost-effective method to use top loaders, and they are quite effective and comparable in size if you use the dimensions that I gave you for the cardboard. And again, the reason I use cardboard, not just paper, is because it's sort of, thickness-wise, as you can see, it lines up nicely, pretty close, depending on the cardboard, right? If you use a little thicker cardboard, it might even be a little more perfect, but I use the cardboard I have, right? If I'm going to throw something out, if I throw out a cardboard box, I utilize that, I recycle it, and it's close enough. It's close enough for me. So let me know what you think. I would encourage you to please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Please comment, share the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Everybody, I want to thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon. Singing
Your